It's 8 months in which Captain Marcus has been in charge of Platoon 30. They have met the enemy once! Once they've met the enemy. And they suffered 2 casualties. Well, damn right he's a fucking good captain. At the end of that fucking TV report, it pointed out that the captain has been recalled to Saigon, and he's been replaced by someone else who promised more search and destroy missions. Now, we don't have to worry about the Army, brothers and sisters, because the Army is our allies. Because that American Army is going to desert within 2 years. You watch. The United States government knows that that Army can't be sent anywhere else in the world, because they're deserting right and left. First of all, they're getting stoned. And they ain't going to fight when they're stoned. And they're all getting stoned. And then after they get stoned, then they start listening to Dylan and the Airplane and Phil Oakes. Then they start reading underground papers. And then all of a sudden, boom! What happens? What you're going to see is you're going to see soldiers someday turning around their guns and not aiming them at 15-year-old Vietnamese kids, but aiming them at 40-year-old menopausal American generals who sent them there in the first place. You're damn right they better kill the people that are killing them. You're damn right. That's the only way it's going to stop. That's absolutely the only way it's going to stop. This government right now has Bobby Seale sitting in a jail in New Haven, Connecticut. And its plans are to take Bobby Seale out of that jail, put him into another courtroom, and electrocute him. And what are the people here going to do when Bobby Seale is electrocuted? When we were young, all of us told us about what it was like in Nazi Germany. That the good Germans sat back and did nothing when the Nazis killed the Jews. And our parents told us, no, that'll never happen here. Because it's a crime, they said, to do your job. Just do your job. When immorality is taking over the state. And Nazism was legal. The judges that sterilized Jews were doing it under the guise of law. And what we have in this country is legal violence. The murderers wear judges' robes and wear pig costumes and carry guns, and under the name of law, they brutalize black people and brutalize long hairs. And the question of us as a generation is whether or not we're going to survive. That's the only question. But this country is dying. It's on a self-destructive trip. Any country in which the fathers systematically kill their children is doomed. And we live in Babylon. In the Roman Empire, America's dying. It's being attacked from every direction. Asia, Latin America, the ghettos, campuses. And they're being attacked in their own home by their own children. The question is, what they want to do is have us die with them. And we ain't going to die with them. And if you're a student at UCLA, you are dying. Because this is death. Because death takes many forms. Death is not only being dead, death is also not being alive. And in America, what we have today is death before life. We got death before life. But the moment we're born, our parents kill us by destroying our curiosity, destroying our libido, destroying our energy, and turning us into students, abstract intellectual students, who never deal with real problems, only deal with artificial things. They kill us. And we gotta get reborn. I'm 8 years old. I was reborn in 1964 in Berkeley in the first student riot. And I'm reborn every day, every hour ever since. And everybody here's got to get reborn. It's not an age thing, man. Bill Clinton's the youngest guy around, and he's over 50. Bill Clinton's a UCLA climber, old Dave Dellinger, the bravest man in that courtroom, and he's over 50. So anybody out there 40, 50, don't give me no chronological age jive, because you can be born tomorrow and be reborn tomorrow. I got 22 more years before I'm 30. We're going to be permanent adolescents. We're never growing up. We're going to stay young all our lives. We're never going to have careers. We're never going to have security. We don't want security. We want to live lives of adventure, lives of heroism, permanent insecurity, permanent revolution, stoned all the time. And speaking of being stoned all the time, our brother, Timothy Leary, right now is in Vacaville State Prison, 20 years in jail for getting high. Now there's a brotherhood among pot smokers, because we all take a puff and we pass it on to the next guy. It's not like beer drinkers and alcoholics. They just get drunk and puke and make more money and fight more wars and get groggy and fall asleep. They get like the governor and become judges like punk Julius Adolf Hitler Hoffman as an alcoholic. Every lunch he used to go up to the old club there and drink 5 Bloody Marys and martinis and come back red-faced and guilty, 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 aggressive motherfucker. Because you know what happens when you get drunk? Every aggressive and ugly and ego-oriented instinct comes out. When you get stoned, you just get happy and cooperative. And so we got a brotherhood of pot smokers. We're passing the joint from one to the other. You dig? From one to the other. And when that chain is broken, and an alcoholic pig rips off one of our brothers, that is a declaration of war against our culture. Because there's one thing different about us, and that is that we are all the same person. And when one of us is in trouble, we're all in trouble. And when one is in jail, we're all in jail. And you can't separate one from the other. We're our brother's keeper. And when they rip off, when they break that chain of a brotherhood of saliva, and that's what it is for pot smokers, the brotherhood of saliva, when they rip that chain and take one of our brothers and put him behind bars, no one is free. And Timothy Leary is the greatest home wrecker that ever walked the streets of this country. He turned kid against mother, kid against father, and he's out of sight. And that's why he's in jail. He's in jail because he's a home wrecker. And we're going to break Tim out of jail. We're going to Washington, D.C. on July 4th. And we're going to have the world's largest smoke-in at the Washington Monument. The world's largest smoke-in. And we're going to get so fucking high, we ain't never going to come down. We ain't going to come down until Tim is free. We're just going to stay up there in the Washington Monument. What you saw in Chicago is something you never learned in this university. You saw what the American judicial system is all about. Now they accuse us of disrupting the court system. That's the nicest compliment I've ever been paid. It was so fucking easy. I wish I'd done it more. I disrupted the court system by laughing. I got 2 weeks for laughing. That's how I disrupted the court system. The court system is immoral. It's a railroad. And everybody out there ought to disrupt every court system they can. I saw something you don't see in this school. You don't learn in this school. I saw Bobby Seale gagged and chained in that courtroom. Gagged and chained because he's black. Gagged and chained because he's the national chairman of the Black Panther Party. And the Black Panther Party had the audacity to try to organize black people against white racism and white pigs. And they indicted 7 of us, and then they added Bobby Seale, because America believes in integration. And we got to indict the Black Panthers too. And then Bobby Seale asked for a postponement so he could have his lawyer, Charles Gary. And Gary was told by his doctor that if he didn't have an immediate operation, he would die. He had to have an immediate gallbladder operation. He's 64 years old. So Charles Gary asked for a postponement from Julius Punk Hoffman, and Hoffman denied it. And Bobby Seale was brought to trial without a lawyer of his choice. And he held a law book in one hand and quoted the Sixth Amendment that everybody's entitled to effective counsel. And talked about black people having died and Reconstruction days without rights. And he kept standing up and demanding the right to cross-examine the witness. And finally, Julius Punk Hoffman stopped the trial, dismissed the jury. The jury was going in and out all the time. Every time Bobby stood up, he'd CEO jury, dismissed the jury, and he took Bobby Seale and put him in the back room and told the federal marshals to deal with that man as he should be dealt with. And a half hour later, Bobby Seale was brought out with a strip of adhesive paper across his mouth and with his hands handcuffed and his legs shackled. The 23rd floor of the federal courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. And then the jury was brought back in, and the following dialogue took place. And if you don't believe what I'm saying, wait for the movie, because it's coming. Or buy this book or steal this fucking book, Tales of Hoffman, and read it there, because it's all true. Julius Hoffman brought the jury back in. He had Bobby Seale gagged and chained, and he turned to the jury and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do not notice anything unusual in this courtroom. I have had to take these steps to protect the rights of Mr. Seale. We've done this for his benefits, because Mr. Seale is entitled to a fair trial." And Mr. Seale, he turned to Bobby and he said, "Mr. Seale, I'm the best friend your people have ever had."
Deliver me from them kind of...
And you don't think I'm making this up. But this is what Julius Hoffman said. "You used to call yourselves Negroes. Now you call yourselves black people. Well, I'm the best friend black people have ever had. I was the first judge in the North to desegregate the schools.
Big deal.
Just showed you how silly and irrelevant desegregation of the schools are in the North." And Mr. Seale, shake your head. Speak up, Mr. Seale. If you're willing to be a good boy now and behave yourself, be a good boy and behave yourself, speak up, tell me, and I'll take off the shackles. And Gunther said, "Your Honor, he can't speak up because you've shackled and gagged him. So you're willing now to be a good slave and respect your master, and your master will treat you nice if you're nice to him, Mr. Seale?" And Bobby Seale went like this. And an hour later, this pig went on the stand and started lying about Bobby again, trying to get him away and in jail for 10 years. And I could see Bobby's hand breaking loose, and he stood up and ripped off the adhesive tape and jumped up and said, "You're a pig, Julius Hoffman, you're a racist, this is a racist court." And when Bobby Seale stood up and said that was an example to every one of us. Because he wasn't going to allow himself to be railroaded into jail. He was going to stand up and fight for what he believed. And so Julius Adolf Hitler Hoffman then took Bobby Seale in the back room and brought him out the next day. First of all, he took him in the back room, they squeezed his nose and forced open his mouth and pushed adhesive tape down almost to his mouth, and he started to choke. And then they taped his entire face. You could barely see his eyes. And then they strapped him into a wooden chair as if he was in the electric chair. Because they wanted to make sure that Bobby Seale was not going to speak. Because black people should be seen and not heard. Black people should bow their heads down and just walk into jail. And they brought Bobby Seale back into that room and sat him down. And I was sitting right next to him. And I saw Bobby's hand moving. For 3 hours I saw his hand moving, and finally I saw him break a hand free and rip off tape and start screaming again. It was impossible to gag in silence and chain Bobby Seale. You dig that? You dig that? Whatever technology those pigs have is not equal to our power. It's not equal to the power of the people of Panthers are right. That's an example of it. It's an example of it when 15-year-old Vietnamese barefoot kids make their own weapons out of tree trunks, tree branches, and shoot down American airplanes. And it's an example when Bobby Seale, gagged and chained in the federal courtroom, breaks free and shouts out, "I'm going to be free." And now Bobby Seale's in jail and they're trying to electrocute him. And the only people that are going to free him are the people right here. Because we are all brothers and sisters. We're all a conspiracy. We were for this jury. Let me tell you about our jury. Because our jury is just like your professors and your parents. Jury, your peers, I'll tell you, jury, your peers. Well, we had a nickname for every juror. One juror was Mrs. Daly, Mr. Pig, Mrs. Pig. One juror was the dead woman. So we asked Council to make the motion. Could we have an autopsy on that jury in the first row? Just there in the first row, because she might have died and we need a new trial. Who knows, you know? She never moved a fucking muscle during the whole trial. All right, now I want to tell you about Mrs. Baldwin. Because all of you know Mrs. Baldwin, because Mrs. Baldwin is Miss America. Now, Miss Baldwin, well, the first day she came to the jury room, we saw her carrying a book. And we all got very excited, a jury that reads a book. And then we saw what book it was, and we saw it was a book by James Baldwin. And we hit each other and said, "Hey, look, Tom, look, James Baldwin book, wow." And so that's how she got the name Mrs. Baldwin. And so during the whole trial, we were relating to Mrs. Baldwin. She'd sneak us a V sign when the judge wasn't looking. No fist, but she went up to the V. We'd give her the fist back, but she just give the V, you know. She gave the V sign. When Norman Mailer came in, she got all excited. She read Norman Mailer's books, and he was testifying to the defense. And she knew Arlo Guthrie. It was really great. Now, the UP Intelligence Network, which is very widespread, we tapped the telephones of the FBI. We got very advanced technology. I don't want to make it all public, but let me tell you. We got some information about Mrs. Baldwin. We found out, first of all, that Mrs. Baldwin marched in the last anti-war march. Our juror. We found out that Mrs. Baldwin was a member of Women for Peace. Our juror. We found out that Mrs. Baldwin voted for Eugene McCarthy in the last election. Our juror. We got very excited. How could a woman like that ever find us guilty of anything? And she was smiling, giving us the V sign. And then one day we noticed a girl in the first row. And the girl was laughing at the judge and waving to us. And in a break and a recess, the girl came up to me and said, "I'm a daughter of one of the jurors." And I said, "Oh, you said enough. Don't say any more. Jimmy Hoffa's in jail for tampering with the jury, and I don't hear any more." She said, "Well, my mother's the woman back there," pointing to Mrs. Baldwin. "She'll never find you guilty." Well, we got pretty high. How was Mrs. Baldwin going to find us guilty and talk to her own daughter? So we analyzed the jury, and we figured it out. There are 8 pigs on the jury. Right-wing pigs. And there were 4 liberals. Middle-class, anti-war McCarthy liberals. And they went back and that door shut after the trial was over, and old Julia sentenced us to jail for contempt. And then we waited and saw what would happen. What happens when 8 right-wingers meet 4 liberals? To try to judge the fate of 7 remaining revolutionaries. A little parable in America. What happens when 8 pigs meet 4 liberals to decide the fate of 7 revolutionaries? You can predict what happens. So the door shut, and the first day the pig said, "Guilty on both counts, guilty on both counts, 10 years in jail. They should have been shot in the streets of Chicago. They were lucky to even have a trial." Would you want your kids to end up like them? Look at them. They put their feet on the table. They have no respect for private property. And the 4 liberals, they're not guilty. They're not guilty. They just want what we want. They're just trying to change the country. We can't find them guilty. First day, second day, third day. On the third day, we were in Cook County Jail and heard on the radio that the jury wanted to speak to the judge. And we all said, "Of course. We know what happened. We know what happened. What happened is that they want to report that they're hopelessly deadlocked. They're hopelessly deadlocked." So we ride in there and we get into that courtroom. And the marshal says to Judge Hoffman, "Your Honor, the jury has reached a decision." Now I know damn well when I heard the jury's reached a decision that it wasn't the pigs that compromised, because pigs don't compromise. And then the jury walked in with this decision. And I took one look at Mrs. Baldwin, and I knew what the decision was. Because liberal conscience tears were streaming down Mrs. Baldwin's face. And I gave it a finger. Because what happened is that the liberals were the first people to crack. And the liberals compromised with the right wing. And the liberals said, "Okay, we'll find them guilty on one charge if you find them not guilty on the other charge." And of course the pigs, that was great. Guilty verdict's enough. Going to go to jail for 5 years, not 10. What's the difference? And so the pigs agreed. And so the liberals and the pigs made a compromise that sends us to jail for 5 years. And that's liberalism in this country. That's what they want all of you to become. People that compromise with the trustees. This country's got more to fear from liberals like Mrs. Baldwin than it does from the right wing. More to fear from liberals who compromise with the right wing than it does from the right wing itself. Because what they do is try to get you so frightened of the right wing that you're always compromising and being afraid. Fear, that's what it's all about. None of us should become Mrs. Baldwins. None of us should compromise. And that Mrs. Baldwin had nothing to be scared about. There was no gun in her head. All she had to do was say, no, I won't find him guilty because all it takes is one juror. But she ain't brave. She ain't courageous. She's a liberal. She's a middle-class compromising liberal. And everything in this country that we don't like was made by the liberals, not by the right wing. The two guys that prosecuted us in Chicago, they were appointed by Bobby Kennedy. And the law was passed when the liberals were in power. And what a law it is. Crossing state lines with the intent of inciting a riot. That's a yippee law. What's a state line? I've crossed about 15 state lines to get here today. I don't believe in state lines. State lines are bullshit things you learn in school. State lines to have a riot? What's a riot? A riot is a party. That's what a riot is. It's a party. A riot is a party. A Rolling Stones concert is a riot. That's a riot. Crossing state lines with the intent of starting a riot. Dig it, intent. Now, what was my intent when I crossed state lines? I may have thinking of getting stoned or getting laid. I don't know. If they could put me in jail for my intent, I'd be in jail for the next 1,000 years. If they could put you in jail for your intent, you'd be in jail for thousands of years. They're putting us on trial for our fantasies, for our dreams, because that's our crime. Our crime is dreaming. Our crime is fantasizing. That's what our crime is. Our crime is wanting to be children and dream again. We're unwilling to become cynical middle-class intellectuals like the professors at this university, like Mrs. Baldwin, like the prosecutors, and like the judges. We're creating something different, something new. That's what we're doing.